I'm Sharika Esther Sharma, and I'm going to read two entries from my memoir written during the lockdown called Monkeys in My Garden, Reflections from a Life in Isolation. Day 35, 24 April 2020. In this particular scene of the science fiction film we're all actors in, I'm driving along an empty road with not a soul in sight, but for police personnel in masks standing at intersections. An occasional car goes past me. Sometimes it's a crumpled can on four wheels belonging to a villager, and sometimes a Mercedes-Benz. There's no difference between the dented car and the shiny one. In this diseased world, the Mercedes has lost its place as a status symbol. Its driver, the rich man, has become like everyone else and is doing what everyone else is doing, looking for food. The poor man in his rubber slippers is in line ahead of the rich man in his Max Air Adidas shoes. Standing 2 meters apart, maintaining social distance, they're waiting to buy vegetables at the only store they're allowed to buy them at in a 5-kilometer radius. The rich man buys more food while the poor man buys less. That's the only difference between them. In this fiction film, we've all been beaten into sameness, and I'd argue it's not a bad thing. The rich needed to be reminded that they are just as human as the poor waiting in line behind them. Today, the poor man was ahead of the rich man by virtue of arriving earlier. The world ruled by the virus is a first-come, first-served world in every way. If the virus decides to come for the rich man, neither his shoes nor his car and nor his bank balance can save him. We've all become equal in the truest sense for the first time. And only because this horrible episode in our modern history has forced us to it. Horrible for us humans, but for the earth, a long-awaited time to breathe. Day 42, 1st May 2020. Robin catches fireflies in the garden before bedtime and releases them in his bedroom. He falls asleep watching the tiny luminous beings fluttering around him, giving him an exclusive last performance. Later in the night, I stroll through the mulberry grove, where a township of fireflies flits in the underwood. I'm transported, once again, to the mythical world of the gnomes. Real creatures appear majestic, and the unreal begins to feel real. In the absence of artificial sounds of airplanes roaring through the sky and rubber wheels and horns out on the street, I watch the infinitesimal live fires twinkling in glorious silence. There's truth in what the seers say. Existence is bliss.